I'm recording this in the United States, and by the time you hear this episode, I'll have lived through my very first 4th of July on American soil. And not just any 4th of July, this is a big one, the 250th, a quarter of a millennium. Now, here's what makes this a Born to License episode and not just a holiday postcard. Because behind all the fireworks and the flags and those hot dogs, there is a licensing program, an official one with logos, fees, restrictions, and a long list of companies that have signed up to be a part of it. So today, I want to walk you through America 250 and what the 250th actually means, who's backing it commercially, and what this whole thing teaches us about a corner of our industry that more and more brands are strategizing around: anniversary licensing. So let's get into it. I'm David Bourne, and this is Born to License. First, what is the 250th really? If you didn't grow up in the US like me, this might be a little fuzzy, so let me set it up. 250 years has a wonderfully clunky name. Let me try and say this. Semi-quincentennial. Try saying that after a couple of barbecue beers. What's being marked is this. On the 4th of July, 1776, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence, the document that formally broke the American colonies away from Britain and King George III. Here's a little bit of trivia for your next cookout. The date we celebrate is sort of a happy accident. The vote for independence actually happened 2 days earlier on July the 2nd, and most of the founders didn't physically sign the parchment until August, but July 4th is the date on the document, and July 4th is the date that stuck. Now, 250 years is a big milestone, genuinely a once-in-a-lifetime event, and that once-in-a-lifetime quality is exactly what makes it fertile ground for commemorative product. People reach for a keepsake when something will never come around again. Before I get into the licensing, yes, I'm planning to do some very American things this weekend. I'm near the coast here in LA, so the beach is firmly on the list. There'll no doubt be a cookout, hot dogs, burgers, corn on the cob, watermelon, and apple pie, of course, because apparently these are things you simply must do, and I will be doing them. And then, of course, fireworks once it gets dark. Stay tuned to my Instagram to see what I actually get up to. But back to the reason why we're all here, the licensing. So let's talk about the organization itself. America 250, officially the US Semi-Quincentennial, that word again, Commission. It was established by Congress all the way back in 2016, a decade in the making. It's deliberately non-partisan. Its honorary national co-chairs are former presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama, alongside former First Ladies Laura Bush and Michelle Obama, one from each side of the aisle, very much by design. And here's the part that matters in licensing. America 250 is, at the end of the day, a brand. It comes with an official logo, and that logo is a licensable asset. If you're a company and you want to make the official mark on your product, you have to go through the process. And we now know exactly who's running that process. The official licensing agent is LA-based agency Global Icons, practically on my doorstep now. And this week, its CEO walked licensing publication License Global through the whole program. He's called it, and I quote, one of the most expansive and accessible licensing programs ever developed for a national celebration. Global Icons took it on back in May 2025, and here's roughly how it works. You apply, you go through a business review, then a category and distribution assessment, and then final sign-off comes from the American 250 Commission itself. Once you're approved, you get the official brand assets and guidelines. You get a fixed logo lockup, you're not allowed to alter, with built-in restrictions designed to protect the official sponsors. Global Icons have tried hard to make it easy to say yes to qualified companies, but make no mistake, it's still a vetted process, not a click and go logo grab. Now here is the genuinely interesting licensing insight, and it's one I want you to sit with. Nobody needs permission to be patriotic. You can make red, white, and blue product. You can nod to America's 250th birthday in plain, descriptive terms, and you can sell it all day long without a license. What the license actually unlocks is the official America 250 branding and the logo, the Commission's own marks. So think about what you're really paying for. You're not paying for the words, you're paying for the seal, the opportunity to sell official America 250 product, the little visual sign that says, this isn't generic red, white, and blue. This is the real thing. endorsed by the National Commission. That is a pure distilled licensing decision. What a license so often sells you is not the subject matter per se, it's the trust, authenticity, and permission to look official. And there's a second entity I want to flag so you don't get them confused because the press sometimes blurs them. There's also Freedom 250. That's a separate public-private effort connected to the White House Task Force 250. Different organization, different logo, and completely different license. So let's look at who's actually backing America 250. This is where it gets really fun because once you start looking, just like licensing, the 250th is everywhere. And the scale is genuinely staggering. Global Icons says there are now more than 200 official licensees, and the products span just about every category you can name: apparel, eyewear, watches, home decor, drinkware, collectible coins, publishing, comic books, toys, board games, food and drink. I could go on and on. And some of the specific licenses are gloriously unexpected. There's an official America 250 bourbon from Evan Williams and premium cigars from J.C. Newman, both adult categories that needed extra sign-off. There are co-branded tie-ins with some of America's own icons, Major League Baseball, for example, the NFL, Jeep, and Ram. There's even an official America 250 online store pulling all of this together. And my personal favorite, and I think I'll go and see if I can buy this over the weekend, an official licensed America 250 5-gallon bucket from Home Depot. A licensed bucket. Yes, that's right. When the branding reaches the humble hardware bucket, you know a licensing program has properly arrived. Now, a quick word of caution because this is exactly where precision matters in our world. Around a moment like this, the shelves will fill up with red, white, and blue product that is patriotic but not officially licensed. And as we said, that's completely legal. So if you spot something themed for the 250th, don't assume it's carrying the official America 250 mark. The 200 plus names in the official program are the ones that have actually gone through Global Icons and the Commission. So let me pull this together because this is more than a fun seasonal story. It's a clean little case study in commemorative licensing. This is a tentpole, not an evergreen. The 250th is a definition of a moment. It's right now, and then the window basically closes. That's a very different game from licensing an evergreen brand that you can sell for decades. Now, one of the challenges around something that's only out for a certain amount of time is really asking, will retailers be stuck with product that could get dated really quickly? Will America 250 still be exciting in the weeks and months following July 4 to sell through all the licensed product that retailers have stocked? Or with our very short attention spans, will consumers focus on that next shiny thing? Perhaps back to the World Cup, or the next Minions film, which is coming, or the next Spider-Man film, which is also on the way. My goodness, there is a lot on. But I really love this example of licensing. It's one of the reasons I do this podcast. It's something truly unique and different to what I talk about most of all, which is character licensing. And this is licensing mostly hiding in plain sight. It's on the cap of the person next to you at the parade. It's in the bourbon poured at the cookout, the cigar someone lights after dinner, and yes, that 5-gallon bucket at the hardware store. Nobody at the barbecue is thinking, ah yes, a licensed property, but it's right there. An entire invisible industry woven through the most visible day on the American calendar. That is America 250. Now, before I wrap up and prepare for the fireworks, here's what else I'm keeping an eye on this week, because right now the licensing world is moving so fast and it's really hard to keep up. First one, Care Bears has a new owner. Authentic Brands Group has signed a deal to acquire the Care Bears IP from the private equity backers who've had it since 2023. And here's why that matters to us. Authentic Brands Group is a licensing machine, a capital light brand house that owns everything from Reebok to Elvis to Marilyn Monroe and turns it all into licensing programs. But it's been built mostly on sports, celebrity, and fashion. Care Bears is, by ABG's own description, its first real character franchise. So, one of the most recognizable evergreen character brands on the planet, early 1980s vintage, more than 100 bears, over 500 licensing partners, is walking straight into one of the most aggressive licensing platforms in the business. And look at the arc here because it's a case study in itself. The sellers say they bought Care Bears for around $100 million back in 2023, grew the business roughly fourfold, and it's now tracking past $750 million in retail sales. That is the evergreen IP as an asset class thesis playing out in real time. Buy a beloved, underexploited character brand, scale it, hand it to a strategic buyer. If If you want to understand why investors are suddenly circling classic character IP, that's your example. And the second story in this one is much bigger picture. Comcast has announced it's splitting into two. It's spinning off NBCUniversal into a separate, independent, publicly traded company and leaving the broadband and wireless side as the Comcast you still pay your internet bill to. I'll do a proper episode on this down the line because there's a lot in it, but from a licensing seat, just think about what a standalone NBCUniversal actually is. Universal's film franchises, Illumination, DreamWorks, the theme parks, Peacock, a pure content and IP company cut loose from the pipes. And it's happening in the middle of an enormous consolidation wave with, of course, Paramount and Warner Brothers tangled up in all of this as well. The takeaway for us is simple but significant. Fewer, bigger owners of the IP we all license. That reshapes who we sit across the table from and how much of the power is on their side of it. Right, well, that's more than enough for one episode. I'm off to find a beach and a hot dog to help me process it all. Catch what I actually get up to on my Instagram, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm David Bourne, and this is Born to License.